There is no honest way to explain it because the only people who really know where it is are the ones who have gone over the edge.
And that is 100% correct.
So what's your edge?
I don't know. It moves. The edge is different for everybody. The thing is, you have to discover yourself why you want to walk up to the edge, and do I have the testicular fortitude to jump over the edge?
If you are listening or hearing the sound of my voice, you are watching the Sterling Spin podcast. I'm Liz Sterling. Thanks for being with us today. I love to help people live their best life. I love to talk to people who are living their best life. And I also will offer you solutions for well-being. Maybe. Maybe. We'll see what Nigel has to say because my guest today in studio is Nigel Aves.
I'm not saying anything.
Not yet, friend. An Englishman, and he lives here in Colorado by way of Norway, Belgium, Holland, and France, and maybe some other places too. Photography is his passion. And he says, I don't photograph subjects. I photograph the way they make me feel. And he continues by saying, admittedly, it's a bit strange, this concept of photographing how I feel. Nigel, welcome to the program. Thanks for bringing all of you here today.
Liz, it's nice to be here. And thank you for inviting me in.
Well, this is like a little bit of a reciprocity, quid pro quo. You had me in your studio a couple of weeks ago at the CIT Network.
I'd like to say the had me is interviewed.
You had me interviewed. I will be watching my words today. That
Yes, you
is
must.
for sure.
I must
say, I've noticed there's innuendo occasionally here and there and everywhere.
I have a wicked sense of humor. And I'm not scared of using it.
I have already discerned that. So we'll find out how your humor comes in. I got to see you in action as an MC at the live Saturday Night Longmont.
That's right.
So you have theatrical background. I'm just making an assumption. Is that a yay or a nay?
It's a sort of yay. I was always interested in theatre, and I was always interested in performing in theatre. But it never really happened until I moved to Colorado in 91. And a good friend of mine at work, Jim Luchek, he was tied in with the Longmont Theatre Company. And they were just putting the finishing touches to the building. They had just taken over the building. So there was a stage to build. There were lights to hang. Yes, I have hung upside down from the rafters in the Longmont Theatre Company.
You have a picture of that?
Fortunately, no. My kilt kept slipping down.
Okay. I believe you.
And I did my first show there acting. I first of all helped out to just get the theatre ready. And their first show was Fiddler on the Roof. There was a bit of a dispute. They may have done something else before then, but very briefly.
And then you helped with the theater, but what was your role? You had a role in the play.
Actually, many roles. My first show there was One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, where I spent my whole time crucified against the wall as Mr. Ruckley. And the only reason that Debbie chose me, she was the director, Debbie Zarek, wonderful director. The only reason she chose me was she thought I was probably one of the few people that could actually go on stage and say his line. The first word is F, and the last word is off. Oh, sorry, no, them all.
Oh, F them all.
F them all.
Okay, and you were able to say it.
And that was my only line through the whole show.
But I bet you fit in very well in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
It was actually some of the hardest acting I've ever done because Mr. Ruckley had the dreadful operation where they separate the cortex in the brain by going up the nose. So I had to spend literally 2.5 hours drooling and being in a totally different place.
Well, you're in another place now, that's for sure.
That's true, and it's not
because
dissimilar.
you're very dramatic.
Yes.
You are quick. You're Johnny on the spot. Like we could turn around and you can make a joke. You can get people's attention. You can say something that will make someone go, what? You have this ability, this very, very quick wit.
Always had it.
Is it always? When did you know, really? When did you know about that?
You really have to go right back to the start of my life. Do you want to hear a little bit about that? Because
just a little.
It's a bit dramatic.
Like that much.
Okay. Now, I
You
don't
were
want
born
you
and
to...
they slapped you on the butt.
They discovered this. And I don't want you to tell anybody, but I actually won a baby beauty contest when I was 9 months old. But this is strictly between you and me, Liz.
Just you and me.
Just you and me.
No one else
No
is
one
going
else
to know
must
that.
know about this.
Okay, I give you my word. I will not do anything with that information.
Excellent. So part of the baby beauty contest was actually a medical, which is most unusual. And the doctor who gave me my medical was really on the ball, and he discovered a slight heart murmur. He then said, obviously to Mum, you need to take him to the GP, general practitioner,
We
in the
still have
morning.
those occasionally. If they're not with concierge, everybody's concierge these days, by the
Right.
way. It's a big thing.
So she took me to see the GP, and he had a listen, and he said, yeah, there's definitely something a little wrong here. And this is where I got incredibly lucky. Our GP, name I cannot remember, I do apologise, but he went to school with a surgeon called Dr. Bonham Carter, who happened to be UK's leading heart surgeon at the time. And he did an awful lot of work at the Great Ormond Street Hospital for Children in London. So I get called up there when I'm sort of, a year old, I think
You don't
it
have
was.
any memories of this, though. It's
No
as
memories
you've
of
been told.
This is the history as told
but
by
this
Mum.
is like true story.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, 100% true story.
I feel like you're telling the truth here.
He had a list and he said yes. He said there's absolutely nothing we can do at the moment because unfortunately they had to get all of the bugs ironed out of heart-lung machines and how to use hypothermia to slow down the heart. And
Wow.
They had to do an awful lot of discovery before they could even think of operating on me.
They hadn't at that time been able to deal with heart murmurs in infants.
It all depended on the
just
type of
brand new.
it all depended on the type of murmur. Mine required the heart to be opened up.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem with my heart was the muscle around one of the valves, and I cannot remember which one, but I know it was between two of the interior chambers. Was the wrong sort of muscle. It's the sort of muscle you have in your legs. So the harder it works, the more it grows.
How fascinating.
Yeah, so what it was, well, it may be for you, but it wasn't for me.
No, I mean, to hear this information that a leg muscle will land in the heart.
It's the
And
type of muscle.
Right.
The type of muscle.
Yeah, and
Okay,
they
so it could have been-
operate completely differently.
Yeah, it's just like arm muscle. The more you use it, the bigger they grow.
Right.
And what was happening was this muscle was slowly blocking off the valve. To cut a really long story short, Mum did work out I spent 50% of my childhood in hospital. I had open heart surgery when I was 12 years old, and that was quite dramatic, and that I do remember very, very well.
I bet.
So I spent an awful lot of time in hospital reading books I should never have been reading.
Okay.
And that can explain an awful lot.
No, my imagination knows what to do with that information. But I must say that you were exposed to a lot of people
Yes.
while you were in the hospital, and you learned a lot, and you must have been curious. And I think, naturally, your innate curiosity and entertainment factors must have played in then.
It kind of did, but when you're that age, you're rather apt to more think of, I wonder how they're going to hurt me next.
Aw.
One of the things they did to me, which was quite fascinating, before we had CAT scanners and MRIs, they had this machine that worked on X-rays. Basically, imagine a cylinder at least the height of your 8-foot room with a hole in the middle surrounded by X-ray machines. And what they do is they do the same as an MRI. They put you on a trolley and they push you in this machine. The only difference is this thing goes off like a machine gun.
What do you mean?
All those X-ray, you've heard an X-ray machine going off. It goes bang.
Yeah.
Bang. Yeah. Now
Right.
imagine thousands in a minute.
And you're inside
And
a
you're
chamber,
you're
and
inside
that
the
chamber
machine.
is like multiplying the effects of it.
It's basically spinning and taking X-rays.
Whew.
It was quite an experience.
Wow.
So that was the kind of thing that I used to have to put up with.
Yeah.
I also managed to have acute appendicitis when I was 4, which didn't help.
Jeez Louise.
I
That's
know.
like, well, I think we should just roll the clock back,
Yeah.
back, say thank you, goodbye,
I
move
wish.
forward.
I wish.
You appear to me to be very healthy, very fit. You run around, you're flying back and forth when you're doing your shows, your
Yeah.
comedy, introducing people. You have a good brain. You're really like on target. Everything that you say is either funny or it's information, names, people, places, dates. You've always been like really brain ready, smart,
I suppose
astute, alert.
I suppose I have in a way. It all depends on whom I'm working with. A lot of people don't understand my humour, which can get me into trouble.
I would imagine.
I do try to warn people that I have a very fast sense of humour, and it can be so off the wall it's not even funny. That sounded like a pun to me. But what we do here, it's just Nigel being Nigel. There's nothing else I can do about it.
Where do you feel like your confidence or your esteem came from? Because I know you. I don't know if our listeners could know you in a few minutes. You've been through a lot, but you also seem to me to be somebody who's, I am what I am. This is what you see, is what you get. Take it or leave it.
Yeah, I hadn't seen Popeye, but I am Popeye. I is what I is. Mm-hmm. There's nothing I can do about it.
Are you eating spinach every day?
Actually, I like spinach.
Yeah,
believe
I do
it or
too.
not.
Especially
But
if it's
I do not eat it from a can.
no.
No.
So fresh,
Fresh.
frozen.
That's fine.
I think the frozen is really fine, but I
Yeah.
wouldn't eat spinach.
I also
from a
like
can
fresh.
either.
I grow spinach every year. So
Do you?
Yeah.
You have a garden? What do you grow in your garden?
Oh, a little bit of everything: tomatoes, peppers. I'm trying rutabaga this year. Just a ton of stuff.
Nice. It sounds fun. So I submitted some questions before we
Yes.
came on the air. And I find it so interesting and I'm curious. I submitted 5 questions, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You wrote back and you're like, Liz, no. They're not in order. Question number 1 should be question number 2. Question number 2 should be number 1. So let's do it your way.
Okay.
Was there a moment in your life that really influenced the way you see the world today?
And it all goes back to my time in hospital. As I said, I was reading books that I should never have been reading. I think I was 12 when I read Catch-22. And if you've not read Catch-22, please read it. It's one of Joseph Heller's best works.
Absolutely, of course.
It's an amazing book. And also the movie they came out with in the 60s isn't bad. But how you turn a 500-page book into an hour-and-a-half movie is still, it'll tell you what's missing.
Yeah.
So I was reading books like Catch-22, Last Exit to Brooklyn. There's a whole ton of books I should not have been reading, but I did.
Because they were too graphic?
They were too graphic. They were too adult.
Right. Not
know.
for a kid.
Not for a kid. Oh,
Yeah.
definitely not for a
And
kid.
it really is. It's a shame. Interestingly enough, I studied with some people who looked at I would say like the energy systems around people. And this sounds like a little far out, but they described it this way, that there's like a grid. Every person has like a grid around them. And there could be a tear in the grid if that child is exposed to something that's too much or inappropriate, that if it's like shocking, you can tear the grid. And if you have that grid torn, you can lose energy through it.
Mm-hmm.
It can also harm the filter that you have with which to see the world. So I would say, in my languaging from the energy worlds, we would say that you had your personal grid torn or disrupted or even violated when you were very young. It wasn't like somebody did it to you. It was like it happened because of what you were exposed to.
It was very self-imposed, and I didn't tear the grid, I threw it away.
Huh. Tell me more.
I don't know how else to put it. When you're going through a childhood like I did, which is always wondering what the hell they were going to do to you next,
Right.
you develop a sense of humor. You have to. If you don't develop that sense of humor, you're going to be so miserable it's not even funny. So you have to change the way you look at life, look at the world, look
So
at
you
people.
didn't let the world take you down. You rose up
I
to
rose
the
up
world,
to the
and
world.
you drew upon something.
It's how I survived.
Yeah, it's like a survival
It's
mechanism.
an absolute survival mechanism.
And you use it well. Now you parlay your way in which you see the world into your work. And so we're going to tell the rest of that story in just a minute. We're going to let everyone know that you're watching, listening to the Sterling Spin podcast. We thank you so much for being here. And if you see the subscribe button on YouTube, would you click that, subscribe, and after you subscribe, look for the bell. Every time we have a new show, that's every week, you'll be notified, and you could join us for another interesting and intriguing interview. Nigel Aves is my guest. He has had a lot of world experiences, but we're talking now about something that you were able to parlay into the work that you do. And I'm also reminded, I have to ask you about question one.
Okay.
What's something you value deeply in your life, and how has it shaped the way you approach your work?
Interestingly, I think people are the biggest influence on me. Now, I don't mean people, I don't mean A-frame Hollywood type people. Normal, down-to-earth people. I've been very lucky in my life. I ended up, when I was living in Belgium, I was doing worldwide support. Flew all around the world.
What does that mean, worldwide support?
I was an application engineer that specialized in a particular piece of software. And the company that I was working for suddenly realized that there was this guy sitting in Belgium that really knew the software better than most, and that was me.
Wow.
So they thought, we can use him for our customers. So rather than doing Belgium support, or rather Benelux support, which is what I was supposed to be doing, they put me on worldwide support, which was kind of fun, actually, because I had two different bosses, and I refused to have a phone at home, and I used to get telegrams over the weekend telling me where they wanted me to go. So I'd look at two different telegrams from two different bosses, and I say, where do I want to go? Do I want to go to Hong Kong, or do I want to go to I don't want to go there. Right, Hong Kong it is. And
wow.
That's how I live my life. So I've been around the world probably 2 or 3 times, one way or the other.
How wonderful. So, you've seen it all.
I've seen a lot. I haven't seen it all, but I've seen a lot.
So there's still more for you to see.
Yeah.
Okay, there always
absolutely.
should be more.
Absolutely.
Great.
I'll tell you this one thing about people around the world. I've sat down with many, many people sitting in a bar, in a hotel, in the middle of Indonesia.
Behind the microphone and doing an interview you interviewed me.
I wish I'd have interviewed some of the chats I had, but everyone in the world, everyone has exactly the same fears, exactly the same worries, exactly the same tendencies to what they have to do to continue living. We're all worried about how much we get paid. We're all worried about where we live, etc., etc., etc.
Feel safe.
There are 8 billion people that all have the same, well, except for the billionaires, there's 8 billion people that all have the same fears, same worries, same everything. We're all in the same boat together.
So what I'm hearing you say is, even the Hollywood people, I mean everyone, we all have this human element, these qualities that are just part of being human.
Yeah.
And so the thing for you in traveling around the world and being in the hospital is that you got to see, feel, sense people. And that is like what you love more than anything else.
Yes.
Is that you can connect with people or maybe even not connect with them, but that you see, sense, feel. And that's the quality that you say you bring into your work.
Yes.
Because what I understand is that you're not looking at the subject. So you are now a photographer. And that's the number one thing that you love to do. But when you see your subject, you're not going by what you see so much as what you feel.
Correct.
Help me to understand a little more about that.
Okay. When I take a photograph, I'm looking through the viewfinder of a camera. I am now away from looking at the subject.
Correct. There's something that separates
There's
you.
something that separates us, and it's called the camera. So the light is coming through a lens, it's hitting a mirror, it's going up into the viewfinder, etc., etc., etc.
Unless
So
you're
I'm
using my
divorced.
Apple phone.
Sorry?
Unless you're using an iPhone.
We won't talk about
Well,
that.
we will. We will talk
No, we
about
bloody
that.
won't.
We have to talk about that, Nigel.
Okay.
But come on, let's do
Okay.
your camera, which has the mirror and the reflection.
So it divorces me from the subject. So when I'm looking through the viewfinder, how does that photograph make me feel? Does it make me happy? Does it make me sad? Have I got it posed correctly? Have I got the lighting correct? And when all those things line up, yeah, I'm happy. I like it. Bang, I hit the shutter.
So you're looking for a bullseye.
Sorry, Liz, hold on. And
a bullseye.
this all happens in milliseconds.
Yeah. I mean, that goes without saying because the person,
Yeah.
the subject is like there in that moment.
In that moment.
Well, you're making it sound as if it's like a bullseye, like boom, like
It is.
You get it, you get that sound or you get that
Yeah.
spot and you can feel it through and through. And that's when you snap your camera.
That's correct. That's 100% correct. It all depends on how I feel about what I'm looking at. If I don't like what I'm looking at, I'm not going to take the photograph.
So you sent me a quote.
Yes.
And the quote is this one from Harold Whitman. Now, I actually did a little research before we got on the air. Some suspect that there's no Harold Whitman, that there wasn't a person, and that it was Walt Whitman or some other person, but a name was attributed. Have you ever heard that? Did you know
I've heard
about
that,
this
but
quote?
I found that quote purely by chance once. I found all those quotes actually purely by chance once, and that was the name that was accredited
Right.
to the quote, and
Right.
it was on a quoting website. So I thought I'm not going to question.
No, I'm not saying this as to bring up anything controversial.
I know.
I'm saying it because I was like, who's Harold Whitman?
Yeah.
Because this is what he says. Don't ask yourself what the world needs. Ask yourself what makes you come alive and then go and do that. Because what the world needs are people who have come alive.
Absolutely.
I love that quote.
Isn't it a beautiful quote?
So I bet, of course, photography makes you feel alive
Yes.
because you're like in the moment, you're getting that hit. What else makes you feel very alive, like as part of your passion? You have to do it.
Oh, my goodness. That is a hard question to answer. Meeting people like yourself.
Thank you.
I find that helps enormously because, I know very quickly whether I'm going to get on with someone or not get on with someone, and we got on almost immediately.
Yeah, we did.
We sort of just clicked.
Boom. There we are.
Similar senses of humor. You don't mind having your leg
Wait
pulled.
a second. I don't think of myself as having very much a sense of humor. I interviewed Joan Rivers.
Yeah.
And before I went in the interview, I'm like, what am I going to do? She's so funny. And somebody said to me, just be yourself, Liz. You're not the funny person. She is.
Mm-hmm.
So I know I have a friend in Florida. When I'm with her, she laughs all the time. She laughs because she thinks what I say is funny. So I think people bring it out.
They do.
It's like intrinsic or it's potential. It's like a potential. But when I get with you, it brings up a funny self.
I have a unique skill. I can always bring out the worst in a person.
Or the best.
Or the best.
That's what you would say. You would definitely say, I make this a difficult day for you, and that makes me happy.
If we carry on with the fake English accent, we're going to fall up
I feel
together
like
very
Julia
quickly,
Child-
and
I
I'm going to
just
have
did-
to give you a spanked
I
butty.
think I just did a Julia Child, right? So, okay.
At least it wasn't Mary Poppins.
No, just a spoonful of sugar helps
God.
the medicine. Okay. Another quote that you submitted.
Yes.
It's
Oh, sorry.
Okay, ready?
Yep.
Hunter Thompson. And I'm saying it because I think you really know about this. It's called The Edge. There is no honest way to explain it because the only people who really know where it is are the ones who have gone over the edge.
And that is 100% correct.
So what's your edge?
I don't know. It moves. The edge is different for everybody. The thing is, you have to discover yourself why you want to walk up to the edge, and do I have the testicular fortitude to jump over the edge?
So this is
Okay.
like the proverbial edge in terms of adventure? Or is it the edge of like the
It's
line
life.
that you walk
It's
every
life.
day?
It's the line you walk every day. It's life. It's life.
Why do you like the edge?
Because it's an exciting place to be, because you never quite know what you're going to discover. You never quite know how people are going to react.
You don't.
And you know damn well from working with me, you know, on our interview, and you saw me doing the live show up at the Captain's Lounge.
And I've seen you just commingle with other people.
with
I
other
mean,
people.
you like to leave an impression.
I don't do it consciously,
You do.
but I do know that I do it.
You
but I
do.
do not do it consciously. It's just my character.
What do you think the thrust is behind it and the reason to be able to
It all goes back
leave
to
an impression and touch people?
I don't know. It all goes back to, I think, how I grew up, with all the time in hospital and all the rest of it, and trying to survive, and
Just trying to make sense.
just
of
trying to
what-
make
yeah,
sense of everything, you know.
Yeah. So-
It's difficult. America is my fifth country, as you mentioned. You know, so I've been around a bit. Know what I mean? Know what I mean?
Around and around and around, you said a few times
absolutely.
around the world.
So, you know, I cannot put my finger on why I am exactly as I am, but I like to walk up to the edge. I like to walk over the edge, and just jump back and forth. But that's all I can really say about it. I mean,
I'm sitting here and I'm really
do you know where
touched.
let me ask you a question. Do you know where your edge is?
Wait a second. Whose interview is this? Anyway, do I know
Come
my
on,
edge?
you knew I was going to take over.
My edge is between me and myself.
Oh, okay.
That's where I have my own tussle. And so I go within and do the best I can to shine the light on the parts of me that are either hidden or that just like pop out and, you know, become reactive.
Yeah.
So I live with my edge
Right.
inside. I have been an adventurer. I'm answering your question. I mean, I've been an adventurer. I've done things that most people wouldn't do. So I have an edge also that I walk.
Right.
And it's different because for you, from what you've said, your edge involves people, connecting, being able to have a reason for being.
Right. I can give you a really good example, actually. When I'm acting, for instance. When you're acting and you really get into the role, you have to go over your edge, because you are going to be doing stuff that you wouldn't normally do. We did a show called Chaps. In the second act, I come out dressed in drag. I loved that scene every time I did it, because the audience erupted.
Whoa, nice.
And it was so nice. And I used to walk out, had a rose in my mouth, and I always used to walk out. Now, we were at, everyone's heard about the fourth wall in theatre, but this was a show where the audience actually was a part of the show. And so I'd walk out with a rose in my mouth, and I'd walk across the stage, you know, jiggle my butt a little bit, bend down, and I'd hand the rose to somebody.
Oh, an engagement again with the
engagement.
audience. Yeah.
That's going over the edge, because not many people would do that.
Right. So for you, being in a role kind of gives you permission
To do that.
to be able to do that.
To do that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's
Absolutely.
really, really great. So your theater is a place where you meet the edge.
Correct.
And when you're with people, you sometimes hit the edge because you'll get a reaction from
Correct.
them or a response from them.
Absolutely.
Which probably makes you feel very alive and having value because you're able to get a rise out of someone and get a connect with them and have something happening.
Right. That's all I ever want to do. That's all I ever want to do. But, everyone is different.
Well, of course, we're all different. Well, let's just go back for a minute. There was a time earlier in the interview where you said something about 8 billion people.
Yep.
Not talking about the billionaires, but I bet the billionaires, too, do all the things that you and I do in the morning.
Oh, I'm sure they do.
In the afternoon and in the evening.
I'm sure they do.
So I think it would be fair to say everyone who's human suffers, struggles, and enjoys all the same things as everybody else does. Is this a deduction that you
I don't
had
agree
made?
with you on that.
Okay, so that's how I interpreted it.
Okay.
Tell me what you were saying.
If you're a millionaire, billionaire, you ain't worried about paying off the house. You ain't worried about where the next meal's coming from.
Yeah, but you may be worried if your portfolio, if you lost 20% or 30% in the portfolio.
I think the only thing these people worry about, because they've got so much money in the bank, is if their Cybertruck's going to break down.
I think they worry about how they can make their money make money.
Oh, yeah, because when you become that greedy, they become the greediest of the greedy. And even the greedy can't understand how greedy they are.
Well, let me just say, it's really interesting here because a lot of the people that I know who are really, really, really wealthy, they give their money away. They start foundations like the Templeton Foundation.
The real people do.
I believe that people intrinsically are good. Because if you have a squeaky wheel, a squeaky wheel gets oiled. So people who are really big and really loud, they're the ones that get on the news. They're the ones that get on attention.
Yep.
Somebody who's like doing good and starting a foundation and realizes they have an excess amount of money and they want to give it to people to help them to start their businesses, to become successful, to live their passion and their purpose. They don't get in the news that much.
No.
You don't hear about them. So Einstein said this. You must ask yourself, we must ask ourselves, is this a friendly universe? Is this a friendly universe? You don't have to answer it, but that question will inform you about you.
That is true. But you also have to read Phil Plate's book, Terror from the Skies. There's an awful lot of stuff out there that wants to kill us.
Well, I just say do your best every day, live purposefully and passionately, and I know that that's something that you agree with.
Agreed,
so,
totally.
Nigel, we like to agree.
So let's find something we can disagree on.
Next time. Thanks so much for joining us here on the Sterling Spin podcast. This is Liz Sterling. I have really enjoyed our time together, and I want to say thank you. You showed me a part of you that I don't know that you always show.
Right.
And
just remember, you mention to nobody about the baby beauty contest. They must not know that I won one.
Let's just keep the whole thing between ourselves.
It was
a great, quiet conversation that we had. Thank you. Hey, if you do like what you're hearing, subscribe. Just hit the subscribe button. This is Liz Sterling. It's the Sterling Spin Podcast. Grateful that you could join us. We're here every week, so be sure to hit the bell so that you'll get notified
ding, ding.
every time that we drop a new show. Thank you. Wishing you well. Be blessed.
I'll be back.